Samirji, do you want to start your video?
Do I
They
show
just
up?
start. They just start.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bibishan. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I am Tejas. I'm from 2.0 Farms. We are here today for the fifth webinar of of the series of the Biochar series that's being jointly hosted by 2.0 Farms and Shekru Foundation. Our previous sessions were focused on very basics of biochar, where we touched upon a lot of different concepts within biochar, what biochar is, how to make biochar, the properties of biochar, and its relevance in today's carbon cycle world and the carbon the climate efforts in climate change, its role in our effort in climate change. Starting this week, we are starting a spotlight series where we invite the stakeholders in the biochar industry and learn from them and listen from them about their journey within this industry. So this week we have Mr. Samir Sharma representing SunCarbon, representing TEO Ventures and SunCarbon, and I'll be giving the mic to him in a little while. Some housekeeping. This session is being streamed live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. So folks can put in their questions on the comment section, and we will have those questions be put to our guest, Mr. Samir Sharma, after his presentation. So let me introduce Samirji. Samir, please take over. Thank you.
Thank you, Tejas. Thank you, Shekru Foundation and 2.0 Farms for bringing a practitioner in it. I'm relatively new in this field from compared to all of the other players who've kind of been around. We have spent a lot of time learning alongside people who have been in this space for many, many years. And as we speak, we would just take you through a very quick presentation of what we do at TEO Ventures. SunCarbon is a platform that we have created, and it would just get an understanding for a lot of people of what we are. So I'm going to just share my screen and allow me. Tejas, you can see my screen?
Yes, visible.
Okay, perfect. So what we ended up creating is arguably the first optimized soil enhancer using biochar. SunCarbon is a platform where we make it easy for farmers, farmer cooperatives, anybody who has agri residue or biomass and help them to make, monitor, and monetize it, to get to biochar, create use cases, and generate biochar removal credits, which are the form of carbon credits here. This was just to take you through a very quick set of our journey. Nitin and I worked together at Averda, where we created something very interesting stuff around plastic recycling, waste management across 13 countries. Worked intensively with the development financial institutions. So carbon has been some of our core sweet spots across our professional careers. Kunal subsequently joined us on this exciting journey. We all know the challenges on stubble burning, We all know what happens when agri-biomass residue is available for a farmer, the cost of labor. The easiest way out is to burn. Arguably, numbers float around from anywhere from 250 to 700 million tons annually, with about, we believe, across would be closer to 500 million tons around. And most of it is low density in India. We are not on to the European side, which is a lot of woody biomass. So extremely challenging to collect and process. It then adds to the layer of complexity on the residues that we are talking about. Some of the maths around all over the place, but on an average, anywhere from 100 to 200 million tons of CO2 emissions annually coming out from this residue. We also have seen that the soil health has kind of deteriorated over the last 7 decades since India attained independence, particularly where the fertility was about 1%. We are down to 0.3. For the uninitiated, zero point 0.3 almost is like desertification of soil. Is that a problem that can be resolved with these crop residues and converting into something what we like to say biochar here? Uh, we also know some of the other challenges in water retention, fertility we spoke about, and obviously all of this puts together an economic outcome which is quite negative for a farmer, and that's why you see a lot of people leaving the classical farming fraternity. This is what led us to put together a platform where farmers or anybody with a residue, can he come and plug and play on this? Can he make biochar, low cost biochar with a low density biomass? Can he get another source of income in carbon credits? Uh, and that for that, you would need a software or a DMRV system. And is there a way to optimize the yields here at the farm level using biochar? Can you optimize the application of biochar? We actually went through across the platform to create the products around it. And that's why we call it make, monitor, and monetize the biochar. We obviously have gone through the journey. We'll share that thought processes and actual on-ground implementations that we have done. But our belief is India needs something, or the Bharat needs something which can work without electricity. It can work on differentiated biomasses. So the biomasses in the south could be very different from the biomasses in the north, or to the east or the west. And across, would you be able to have or create an asset which works perfectly fine in the weather conditions in India and with different biomasses? Can it go around? Is it mobile? Can it scale? So this is just a kind of model which kind of show what we have kind of gone about doing it. More about it subsequently. The DMRVs, we looked at trying to see, can we get a biochar making DMRV, which is the CO2 credits on removal basis. Can this be extended into regenerative agriculture and so on and so forth, where the SOC impact can generate what we like to say insetting credits, and that too for a very, very long period of time. Biochar credits come on the spot basis, where insetting credits are harvested over a period of time, what we can call, colloquially call carbon farming. Monetization we spoke about. At this point in time, we have two variants. So we'll talk more about it and the results, what we have seen. So what's been our journey like? We are currently present in two states with our own and operated assets. We started with a soil pit. We understood soil pit. We produced a lot of biochar using soil pit. We picked up one of the most, I would arguably call a little difficult biomass, a low density, which is sugarcane bagasse across. And we actually created quite a few tons of biochar and process process that over a period of time to see the quality. We also tried the drum methods and things like that to understand what is like to do in a drum. Uh, we graduated subsequently to a quantity. You see a lot of bagasse on the left-hand side at the back end, how to process it. We have been in a learning phase. These pictures are on the left side are more towards last year. Then we kind of graduated onto a quantity with supports, how we can make it a little easier for the artisan to produce good quality biochar. Subsequently, brought in a shed so that the impact of the weather is kind of reduced on the particularly the artisan. The hero in this is not just not the quantity. The hero is the artisan who actually produces a good quality biochar. And we're going to be talking a little more about why it is extremely important to get the artisan comfortable. So we just given another picture of the work, the height of the quantity, what it should be. If you look at the one on picture on the top left, we have a challenging process where the artisan doesn't have a line of sight, right? And if you look one on the bottom right, it is the same quantity, but repurposed, and you had the artisan actually looking over it to get a good visibility. And that's a small change, same quantity, same artisans, but different approaches on how to handle the process of biochar making. Small things resulted in significantly superior quality of biochar. And what do I mean by that? The percentage of unburned portion in the first one tended to be a little higher. That's where the learning phase was. We haven't claimed credits on that. But one on the bottom right is something we kind of got it very right. Literally 0%, almost close to 0% of unburned portion. Much more control on the entire process, right? I'm just going to give you a sense of what comes out of a Contiki, and I'm sure. Do let me know if you can hear at the back. You hear the volume?
Yes, it's audible.
This comes out of a Contiki. So this is on coconut shell. It's come out of Contiki. And I want to show you another one which we worked out through our equipment. Just to give you a sense the quality of biochar. Very similar product, coconut shells across various shapes and sizes. It's not cut right, but have a look, have a keen ear on the quality. So, so what we're trying to demonstrate here is the quality of biochar, yes, can be seen from plain sight. Odor, it should have no odor. It should not taste. It's like similar to water, no taste, no smell. But importantly, the it has to have the sound of the clinking of the glasses, yeah. And that actually gives you a really good feel, almost of the suffix or the percentage of carbon that you have managed to sequester in or lock in the biochar that you have. That's a practical approach. We have worked through sugarcane bagasse. Bagasse is a little challenging in getting the audio, so that's why we tried other biomasses as well. We've done obviously quite a few stems. We have done peanut shells. The one on the left was on the peanut shells. The one on the right was coconut shell. This was not the brown coconut, but the green tender coconut, which were dried to kind of get you a sense. So there is a complete curve of the C-fix across. So you had bagasse, so you have rice straw at the extreme left hand, a relatively low level of C-fix. You move up to get bagasse, you move further up, you get peanut shells, and you would end up at bamboo, coconut, green tender coconut, bamboo, and brown coconut shells. So that's the kind of a curve on CFIX all the way with the brown coconut shells, you could hit as high as 90% of OC. Just moving on to the DMRV, we have our own Sarthi, SunCarbon Sarthi as our DMRV. It helps you to track and trace the biomass, where the biomass came from, and where the biochar, which field was it applied. So we have an end-to-end traceability around it. Obviously, it does a recording of the production of biochar and therefore would support in generating your carbon credits with a carbon registry. Obviously, there are other elements and tools incorporated in the DMRV around soil health, farm schedulers. As we go further into regenerative agricultural practices, the farm scheduler will create a nice evidence for you to kind of claim support, both in terms of data and process flows to generate carbon credits. Obviously, there is a lot of soil health or SOC factor which will come into play. Obviously, this is powered with machine learning. So the whole idea, we'll talk about DMRV again some other day, but the whole idea of this DMRV is that the farmer should be able to use the application in his native language without any data entry that he is doing. So he either gets a very simple drop-down menu or uploads the pictures using the camera that is already there, creating a clear evidence of the geofence, geotag, and the location and the date and with timestamps around here. We talked about the products. We have about 3 of them. The middle one is more of a tool for kitchen, gardens, and the nursery products. The left one is a topsoil application. The biochar soil enhancer. The SunCarbon biochar soil enhancer is a topsoil application. It's a root zone application. You can apply in the dry basis. There is a formulation to do it on the wet basis or the liquid application dosage. And the black is the soil amendment or basal dose applications. What I'm going to do is show you some of the results that we have seen around. We did some of the trials in Mirzapur on chilies. And if you allow me, I'll probably share the data around chilies, and something we thought were super exciting for a lot of people who would I hope you guys are able to see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, great. So this is something which we did quite detailed in Mirzapur on chilies, and this was done early this year in January. This is the first picking data, of course. We have the whole data sets around with 3 or 4 pickings, right from the first flowering all the way to the third picking. This was a little off season, kind of off season, where they kind of closed out in late April, May, they finished their crop. This was sowed in late November, sometime early December. The first time SunCarbon was applied, and I use the word SunCarbon because there's a formulation, it's charged biochar with some level of nutrients in it. We give an example of a control environment, which was the chemical application. We then had an application of black. We had SunCarbon soil enhancer, the one that you saw on the yellow side, the liquid one. It was a liquid dosing, which is much lower than the SunCarbon soil enhancer that we put. If you look across on the outcomes, straight away, I'll take you to the outcomes. The delta between, as compared to the chemical side, whether it was the fruits or the flowering or the yields that came about, was about closer to 50%, right? Whether it was on the liquid or the black side. This is the kind of delta that we saw, and we saw it across through 4 different pickings, right? Something very interesting we observed, how did we do particularly the yield elements, was the weight. So when we had the biochar based soil enhancer applied to the chili crop, interestingly, the weight was significantly higher. And a sample of 6, we saw between 15 and 19 grams for the chemical one or the control one, and was as high as 28 to 30 grams on a sample of 6. And the something very interesting that we observe on the biochar application, particularly with the SunCarbon black application and the soil enhancer application, was the quality of product. It was quite reasonably straight. You find in chilies, it's generally quite curved, particularly the first crop that comes out and the first picking that comes about. This was fairly straight. That gave the farmer an ability to go out to the farm, go out and sell it rather than try to leave it behind and get better yields around. So it's not just the yield, both in terms of volume or the kgs of produce that he had, but also on the overall quality of produce. So that was something very, very interesting that we observed. I'll just jump back to the presentation if you allow me. Yeah. So just moving further, why would you want to make biochar and then restrict only to soil application? I know this is an audience which would like to get their yields out, but I also would want, when you are able to create good quality biochar, uh, you're not restricting the use only to soil, but you can use. There are 55 known applications, but something which we kind of put it back into some slots or sectors, right from in the rural agricultural space. You could go to livestock, for example. You could put it in a poultry bedding. You could put it to the cows and the buffaloes. The milk yields goes up. The body fat improves. The quality, the fat in the milk, the content of fat in the milk also improves. And these are all known studies. But I would say that what we just showed you on the quantity side, let's not try taking it to the livestock as yet. You'll have to do a lot of research and understanding of the quality of the product. So all of this requires a rigor around lab testing, quality of product, the polyaromatic hydrocarbons that are possibly there. Uh, can you get necessary biochar-based certifications? There are 2 of them, EBC or WBC, fairly expensive, but important to kind of go down that route to get your head around where all can use the products, right? So there are segments, there are heavy metal presence in the product. One needs to understand to kind of go down that route. So it's quite important not to just rush into other applications, but what we are saying is there are multiple opportunities of biomass that is harvested out and not treated as a residue or a waste and let it burn, But if one has kind of thought through that on the biomass side, there is a reasonable amount of applications. You may not get carbon credits in all of them, but clearly there is more than enough compensation in terms of price that you would get in other areas. Just to come back onto SunCarbon and TEO Ventures, we have been incubated at CIRCOT and currently being incubated at the IIM Bangalore. We have our partners in CAFRI, ICAR, Pyro CCS. The Germans are our key partners across in the developmental zones. We have also got some startup money from DTU across. One of the things that we would like to kind of bring about is ICAR CIRCOT has been quite a supporter. We are looking to receive some grants towards the development of the products that we are working through at this point in time. As we focus largely on the biomass and the agri-use and offsetting carbon emissions. So it's largely the agricultural space that we are currently focused on. And we try and focus with the farmers or the farmer cooperatives to move forward, right? On the model, we like to, on the platform side, offer this on a hub spoke model. Maybe would, if there was an agri entrepreneur, we would be able to offer the entire platform to him across, be it the equipment making, be it the DMRV, should it be the utilization of the biochar across, generating at least 2 or 3 revenue streams. So while we have our own platforms or own project sites generating biochar in 2 different places, as I mentioned earlier, in UP and MP, both are certified by Carbon Standards International, and the carbon credits in the registry are VBB, so verified by the verifying body and validated. Importantly, what we are suggesting, or we are inviting entrepreneurs to come and do a plug and play on platforms, particularly on the artisanal side. That's where I like to pause. Happy to take questions. Over to you, Tejas.
Wonderful. Thanks for taking us through the journey, Samirji. I think it's really very insightful. So before going ahead, guys, if you have any questions, please put it in the comment section, whichever platform you are joining us from. And Dibishan will be helping us collate those questions and bring them forward. I'll start off with one question I have. There was a lot of focus on low density. We got to hear about it more than one time in your presentation. So I want to understand, maybe pick your brain on why you think that's an important segment and how you're positioning TEO and SunCarbon to tackle this a little bit more effectively, because the first choice for someone would be high density one, going for the gold, rushing for it. What's your thinking behind being very strategically focusing on low density?
A very interesting question. If you look at India or the landmass in India, what are we trying to, what do we see here? We see cotton stock. If anybody would say that is high density, no, that's on the low density side. Yes, woody, but low density. We are not in the forest zone. So biochar discovered, nurtured by the Americans, the Europeans. If you came down to global south, we are not talking about taking forests out. In fact, bamboo, as late as 2017, was classified as a forest and not as a grassland. So you could not harvest any of these things, right? So what you get this biomass almost on a annual cycle basis, which is not the luxury the Western world has. They have 6 months of a year to probably harvest, or if they have to, they go into a polyhouse. It's very unlikely they're going to run a big, whether it's rice straw or cotton stock across the spectrum. I think this is a problem definition, if I were to call for India. We all end up burning millions of tons. We all create the mess that we create in the northern part of India. We all know what happens then during the winter months when the wind blows in a very interesting direction, and most of the Delhi and the northern parts get choked. Our belief is that is something which is not easy to solve for. It's a different. It's a. I won't call it. It's you use the word a gold rush into the easy part, but this is where you have an intersection of soil and biomass. If you were to soil for this, try and give the circularity back to the soil in the place that you are working there, right? I mean, Tejas, you yourself work on regenerative farms, right? So it is just what the doctor ordered to try and ideally there is a C-Sync farmer standard at Carbon Standards International, in my view, which is we work on the artisanal pro side, but there is an artisanal model also existing. And one of the biggest challenges in the artisanal model, why it is not taken off or the price of the credit is fairly low, is because there is no technical support around it. It allows for very little testing. It gives you a lot of leeway around testing, right? But if there was a DMRV which takes them through, and this is exactly what SunCarbon is trying to do, is to try and give the DMRV out to people to try and put this out for people when they take that biochar, they have the trust that the damn biochar was indeed biochar, was not coal or ash. They're the two spectrums, right? And in our assessment, you work with low density, you work with the soil that you have, put it back to the soil, and voila, you're going to have a fantastic outcome. We have seen it in chilies with lugged all the way from Meerut to Mirzapur to do a test in a controlled environment. We have done tests in other parts of India. And something very interesting, these are places where you have to kind of be at it. And if it goes back, biomass goes back into this in the same soil or the neighboring soil at best, I think you see some magic happening there, right? Generally, I believe that helps the farmers to reduce his chemical inputs over time. The soil gets better. I'm sure everybody has seen that report on Pacific Biochar 6 years, post 6 years, where you did see that SOC actually jumped up more than the organic carbon that went in. So you do find an intersection there in year 5 and 6. Yes, it's a long haul, but there is no free lunch. We have kind of destroyed it over 70 years. So I believe 5 years is okay. To half a decade, you will start generating different value. My belief, summing up, using a DMRV, even if you are not selling your biochar to third parties, is something that you should be having. Use it for you to stand up and have your data about what you put and where you put and what quality you put. This is a resource that is available, and the ceasing farmer, in my view, is going to really make that cut over time.
Wonderful. Thank you. Bibishan, Anand, please feel free to jump in whenever you have questions, but I have a couple of more here. Samitji, I would like to ask you, you've shown us your journey starting from a pit all the way to the equipment that you are currently working on. Could you tell us all the various feedstocks that you have experimented with and the
Yes.
crops? Sorry, I'll just finish that. And the crops that you have went ahead and put the SunCarbon in. And one of the questions that I would like to plug in is some of our viewers have asked in the previous sessions about how can they convert their uh, like cleaned dead roots of the plants. So is uprooted roots one of the feedstock that you have considered in this journey?
Uh, So I'm going to answer the first part, which all biomasses we use. So I think we've been little not the standard track of everybody talks about cotton stock. It's been an evolving journey. So we did paddy straw, for example, try to understand paddy straw. What I like to pride on and art with our team is we do a lot of research. So we're trying to be a science-based and a technology-based organization, right? So every time we do test whether on the soil, whether on the outcomes or the product that we are using, right? So we did paddy straw. We graduated to sugarcane leaves. We then did sugarcane bagasse. Very interesting outcomes because sugarcane bagasse has mineralization properties, and this is where the intersection of biomass, biochar, and the soil is quite important, right? Uh, when you have something at a high level of magnesium in sugarcane bagasse, it changes the overall behavior of the on the agri space. The biochar changes some behavior. You will not get this in, say, hypothetically, if I had created pine wood, a biochar, and then I wanted to have the same outcome with the same quantity of biochar to be put in the same acreage and the same crop, the outcomes will end up being very different because of the mineralization that you have in sugarcane bagasse. The carbon content is very different in sugarcane bagasse, at perhaps closer to 60%, where pine wood will have much higher carbon content. The behavior is also influenced by the mineralization properties that you have. We should not ignore that. And obviously the heavy metals and all. I'm assuming that the heavy metals are not are within the limits and so on and so forth. So we did paddy straw, we did sugarcane bagasse, we've done obviously sugarcane leaves. We are going back to sugarcane leaves now and trying to do another set of trials there. We have done peanut shells. We have done coconut, green tender coconut. We have done barks, the wood barks. Something very interesting on again on barks. Your C-fix, you would generally feel that the C-fix will tend to be a little good. Not necessarily. Be careful of what you would do in a Contiki. And I think equipment and quantities, you have to just give a little margin of safety. You're not going to get the same level of CFIX in the two. And this is where the artisanal element is extremely important to get there, right? So it's about 5 to 7. We have tried one more lantana, and we are actually going ahead and doing another invasive species very soon. Obviously, cotton stock. So we've kind of done the standards as well. We are now on what all. Did your question was what all crops have you kind of applied? And this is something which I want to be very upfront with you and your audience here is uh, there is a classical marriage between the biochar and the crop that you're using. The seed that you have used, is it hybrid? And what is the nature of the hybrid seed? You get a fantastic result in one soil, and you will get an average result on the other soil with the same biochar, right? And if the hybrid seed is different, I don't think the key here is to get disheartened. I think the key here is to keep at it, saying that what is the right approach. Don't go and spray. I mean, I won't use this approach of spray and pray. Cross in a field, you put tons and tons of biochar and hope that it's going to work magic. I think there is a lot of work through that one has to do it. Number two, you got to make sure you charge the biochar. And I think there is something that you guys have already talked about, so I'm not going to belabor on it. We'll share our experience with you, Tejas team, that the we have found that the same product, same biochar works in a particular area on tomatoes, in other areas on tomatoes, it doesn't work. So there is no panacea, is what I want to tell. Please try it. You might just think that, oh, I'm demarketing biochar. No, please try, see what works, what doesn't work, what quantum works. And this is why optimization is extremely important. And that's what SunCarbon tried to do, saying that you are not going to get hurt while you do this journey. You are going to get may not be the 30 or a 50% jump that you got, but you're going to get closer to say 25%, right? I'll share some example. We got some videos. We did something in Bulandshahr, one of the places in northern India, and I want to share one episode. So we went around. The farmer had already applied, and said, "Why did you buy this? Why did you buy this? And what made you to buy it again?" He said something very interesting. The first time I get the crop, the tomato sizes and shapes are pretty odd. They're all kinds geometric shapes. Some things are round, some things are oval, some things are square, something are flattened. I never get the in the first picking a good, well-rounded stuff, which is what I get a prize on. What do I do with the first picking? I throw it in the fields itself and try and make the card. My payback on when I used your product, again, not from a marketing perspective, was that I could sell that on the 1 biga or 2 bigas that I put, I could sell it to the market, right? It was all well round. Typically, it comes on the second, third, or the fourth picking that you find that. So extremely interesting. And I'm giving an example of tomatoes. I've given an example of chilies already, how what the results were. One has to think through the family of crops approach also. So is it the solanaceous crops that you're working through? We have done something on avocado, for example. Now it is on the high end crops. It is not a native, and I'm very okay with taking the names as well. It's all there on the internet and videos. And the person himself, Harshad Goda, actually went around saying what he used. Um the flush that came about on the saplings was just completely outstanding. It was about 1 2 year sapling. So it is about how you apply. One has to understand. You can apply in a golf course and still get no results, but you can get great results in the golf on a lawn, right, in your home. It's important to get the application right. Take a small piece, do it. So we have done across applications, be it lawn, be it tomatoes, be it chilies, be it your spinaches and the bitter gourds and all of this across. So different results. We haven't seen negative results, I would say. Water holding capacity is just simply outstanding, anywhere from 30% to 60%. And that's all the farmers saying it. We are not saying it. And it's very interesting how you play this out. Uh, just make sure that there is no water held up in the area where you are applying, because that really has a double whammy for the crop, because it has a water holding capacity, and if there is no proper slope, then it's going to destroy the crop, and then you will obviously blame biochar for it, but it's not so. So uh, so that's something. I hope I've kind of answered your question of the crops, types of biomasses, and the outcomes. And this is you on one just last edition on the biochar output with different biomasses. I think it's important to understand what is the carbon percentage in each one of them. My basic research, and I'm speaking as a practitioner, not as somebody who has done research in a laboratory, is you don't need to overdose with biochar. So just to give you a sense, in Mirzapur, on an acreage, we did a maths, and you had to use just 254 kgs of biochar, not a ton of biochar that you read in every report. In an acre, they were planting 9,000 plants of chilies in an acre, pretty much high dense, but still you don't have to go the 9 yards and throw in 2 tons or 5 tons. It all depends on what is the underlying carbon content of the product. So a rice straw biochar, maybe you should throw in two tons in an acre, but maybe a cotton stalk, you don't really need to go that 9 yards. So these are some of the thoughts.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's a good segue into my next question. As I joke, you know that I jokingly call biochar as an empty revolver with million bullets that could be put in because of its number of pores and everything. So, uh, TEO and SunCarbon probably are the first or only uh, this age biochar stakeholders that have put out a final product out in the market. So, on that note, also clarify whether that was pure biochar that was put for an acre, the volume that you said, or the final product. And if you can help us walk us through that journey of creating this sun carbon, the soil amendment, the biochar that was made, and what all biochars have you tried to build the final product out of thus far?
So they just interestingly, uh, two elements. I know it's a very famous adage. It will become an adage one day where they just say it is an empty revolver. It's so. I use this. I have borrowed it and explained what biochar is all about because it's very easy to understand. It's an empty revolver. It can't just say शोले में होता है पिस्तौल जेल में आ गए हैं, but where are the bullets, right? So it's very important that the bullets needs to be kind of uh, made available for the biochar colony. It is something very simple that the microbes and the bacteria all need a home to stay, which is not destroyed just because it gets decomposed. Very simply put, that they stay and keep multiplying, right? So, so the way we looked at it is when we started this off, we looked at soil, we looked at all the challenges. Uh, our approach was very simple. This is the need of the hour rather than a lot of people were making biochar already. So, making biochar was not the biggest motivation then. Uh, but I will be very honest, as we use third party biochar without naming names here, we also tried learning on the biochar. We realized that the challenge at times was the quality of biochar that we are using, right? And as I said, that was it was an experiential journey for us to kind of figure out that you don't have to be extremely aggressive with biochar. You have to be understanding of what the product was. There's a lot of lab tests that you had to do in terms of formulation that you have created. By the way, we just don't mix one type of biochar at times. We mix two different types of biochar to create the right balance of percentage of carbon in it, right? And whether it's 60% or 80% carbon, you can't just get one type. Bagasse, 80%, I'll never be able to put in a 25 kg bag. Think about it, because that itself has 60%. So how would I bring it to 80%? So I'm not activating it, but I have to charge it very well to kind of get up that curve. So yes, we used all of the mention that I mentioned about whether it was peanut shells, whether it was sugarcane bagasse, whether it was rice straw or cotton stalk. We used all of them, including, of course, babul and invasive species like lantana to kind of get our head around to. But it was important to not again mix and hope for the best. It was a science-based approach, saying that what needs to go with that. Go back to the lab and see, did you hit the 80% curve? Did you not add few contaminants or heavy metals while you were doing it, right? It was quite important to get the balance right. Initially, so it took us about a couple of years to get there. Uh, Put it in a brand, create a brand, put it in a pack, build the trust with the user, saying that why you have to use it, whether you use 10% or 80%, wherever you're using it. So that's how we kind of went about doing it. I don't know if I've answered the two parts of your question.
Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to understand a little bit more about the journey, but I'll open up the questions for the. Yeah, I think Anand is waiting with this question. Hi, Anand.
मैं लेता है
Oh,
तेजस।
Vision.
तो
Yes.
हाँ, एक फेसबुक से आ रहा है, स्वाति शिखाड़े एक क्वेश्चन पूछ रहा है, सर बायोचार कैन बी यूज्ड इन वेल वाटर फॉर फिल्टर वाटर फ्रॉम डिफरेंट इम्प्यूरिटीज, एनी रिसर्च डाटा और योर एक्सपीरियंस सर प्लीज।
Okay. English, Hindi?
इंग्लिश।
English is fine. Okay. So the answer is yes. In fact, you can use biochar coming out of well water uh, or the ponds that you have or the various irrigation system, the local irrigation systems that you have. Importantly, the quality again, try and use something which is locally available or you can make locally. Ideally with a CFix which is much higher, which let's take this example of cotton stock. If it's available, it makes so much sense to kind of use it. Your also question is, do I have the experience of making it commercially on water filtration? Answer is no. Do we know that it can be used or we would like to use it? Answer is we are currently doing the studies to ensure that we can create a product which goes there. I'll just take 1 minute to just explain. Effectively, you're talking about surface area of the biochar, which is extremely porous. This is what Tejas was mentioning about uh, a revolver with sockets. So this is where the micropores or in the soil in a scenario, they kind of make their colony. In the scenario of water filtration, it is the adsorption capacity of biochar where they can come in and store and lock the bacterias and impurities. The point to remember is once you use that, please try and change it every 4 or 5 months because it could have a lot of bacteria over a 5 month period. Maybe take it to the soil after you've used it as a water filtration and don't keep at it. So it might just be a negative at that point in time. But hopefully, as we come in about a few months back with Anant and Tejas, we'll be able to share some of our experience on water filtration is what we are working through at this point in time. The one that you heard of the crunchy sound, the tests are something which we are currently doing. There is with your biochar, try and do what is called an iodine test. And it's cheap, it's not expensive. Take your biochar to the lab and figure out it's an iodine test. And you will find that whether it is good enough for water purification or not. Most biochar will be good enough for water purification from a well or this basis.
ओके, नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन अवंतिका पूछ रहा है कि सर डीएमआरवी है ना, इसके बारे में जरा डीप से बता सकते हैं कि मींस एग्रीकल्चर में क्या है, बहुत ऐसा सेंसर का बारे में या ऐसा कुछ करेगा तो उसमें कितना सक्सेस आता है मालूम नहीं है, तो आप जरा उसको जरा डीप बता सकते हैं कि ये डीएमआरवी कैसा इसमें इम्पैक्ट करता है और इसमें कितना एक्यूरेसी है यार, इसके बारे में क्या बात कर सकते हैं?
ओके, सो दो पार्ट है. हिंदी में बोलूं तेजस?
हाँ, हिंदी में क्वेश्चन है सर.
ओके, थैंक यू वेरी मच. सो दो पार्ट हैं. एक अभी तक जो हम डिस्कस कर रहे थे वो आर्टिसनल जो आपने देखा कॉन्टकी या स्पिट, दे वर ऑल आर्टिसनल डिजाइन से बने हुए हैं. उनके स्टैंडर्ड्स अलग होते हैं. डीएमआरवी का स्टैंडर्ड अलग है उसमें. अगर मैं आपको 3 चीजें ध्यान रखनी है जब आप डीएमआरवी चला रहे हैं, मैं सेंसर के बाद में आऊंगा. मॉइस्चर, आपको किस तरह मॉइस्चर लेना है, मॉइस्चर मीटर किस तरह होना चाहिए. एक पर्टिकुलर अगर आप देखें तो एक सेट ऑफ एसओपी, स्टैंडर्ड ऑपरेटिंग प्रोसीजर्स होता है. आप मॉइस्चर मीटर्स रखिए, किस तरह मॉइस्चर लेना है वो रिकॉर्ड होना चाहिए डीएमआरवी में. टिपिकली जब आप एक बैच शुरू करते हैं बायोचार बनाने का तो आपको 6 डिफरेंट डेटा पॉइंट्स लेने पड़ते हैं मॉइस्चर के. सो एक बार गलती हुई, दूसरा सही हो जाएगा, तीसरा सही हो जाएगा, बट उसका मॉइस्चर एक परसेंटेज के नीचे होना चाहिए, विच इज टिपिकली 20%. और मॉइस्चर मीटर भी सही होना चाहिए. जो बगास का यूज कर रहे हो वो कॉटन स्टॉक में मत यूज करिएगा. बगास में ग्रेन वाला मॉइस्चर मीटर यूज होता है, वेरस कॉटन में एक अलग तरह का वुडी मॉइस्चर मीटर यूज होता है, सो दैट आपका मॉइस्चर प्रॉपरली कैप्चर हो पाए. पहली बात. दूसरी बात, डीएमआरवी में होता है टेम्परेचर, रेसिडेंस टाइम. आप पायरोलिसिस करते हो, बेसिकली द प्रोसेस इज पायरोलिसिस. क्या टेम्परेचर जा रहा है. आइडियली आपके पास एक डिजिटल इंफ्रा गन होने चाहिए. दे आर नॉट एक्सपेंसिव, महंगी नहीं होती हैं. तो आपको एक सेंस आएगा कि कितना कुक हुआ है. और जैसे मैंने दिखाया कोकोनट बायोचार का, अंदर से कुक होना चाहिए, बाहर से कुक होना काफी नहीं है. और कितनी देर, क्या टेम्परेचर पहुंचा, क्या 500, 400, 450, 500, 550 पहुंचा या नहीं पहुंचा. और आपने तो ये चीजें डेटा सेट्स कैप्चर होना चाहिए. सो आपने किस तरह सैम्पलिंग करी, उसके बाद किस तरह आपने सिक्वेस्टरिंग करी. डीएमआरवी ये सारी चीजें बहुत आसान तरीके से कैप्चर करना चाहिए. इसको डेस्कटॉप पे लेके आपका जो लेबर है या आर्टिसन है वो खुद कर पाए, इतना आसान होना चाहिए डीएमआरवी. एंड दिस इज व्हाट वी हैव स्ट्राइव टू डू. हमने कोशिश करी है उसको बनाने की. आप पिक्चर्स लेके अपलोड करें, अपने आप डेटा आना चाहिए, उसमें डेटा कॉम्प्रोमाइज नहीं होना चाहिए डीएमआरवी का. पहली बात। अब आपने एक और सवाल पूछा सेंसर्स का। हाँ, सेंसर्स बेहद इंपॉर्टेंट है आर्टिसन में। एट सम पॉइंट इन टाइम, शायद 1-2 सालों में वो अनिवार्य हो जाएंगे। आज की तारीख में अनिवार्य नहीं है सेंसर बेस्ड मॉडल होना, बट क्वालिटी को इंश्योर करना सेंसर बेस्ड प्रोडक्ट हेल्प करेंगे। आईओटी डिवाइसेस, इंटरनेट ऑफ थिंग्स के जो डिवाइसेस है वो हेल्प करेंगे। आप क्वांटिटी में उसे अंदर रखें तो टेम्परेचर बता पाए कि वो पहुंचा है, और डेटा हर बैच जो आपने बनाया, ये मेरे को अगर ऑडिट करना है तो मैं उस टेम्परेचर, उस बैच का डेटा डीएमआरवी से सोर्स कर पाऊं। ये एक मैन्युफैक्चरिंग वाला पार्ट, जो बायोचार मैन्युफैक्चरिंग है, इसकी हार्ट बोलूंगा मैं। दूसरा पार्ट, बायोमास कहां से आया, ये डीएमआरवी में लॉक होना चाहिए किसी तरह। कहां से आया, कैसे आया, कितनी दूर से आया, क्या वो 100 किलोमीटर से आ रहा है तो एक कार्बन एमिशंस का इशू आ जाएगा उसमें। कार्बन मैथ्स इंक्लूडेड होनी चाहिए उस डीएमआरवी में, आपको बता पाए कि ये वायबल नहीं है आपके लिए। कहाँ जा रहा है आपका बायोचार सिक्वेस्टर होके, सिक्वेस्टर मतलब आपने किसी तरह उसको मिक्स करके एक पर्टिकुलर प्रोडक्ट बनाया है सॉइल में, कौन से खेत में जा रहा है उसको जियो फेंस करिए, जियो टैग करिए, ताकि जब ऑडिट हो पाए, क्या आपने डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड सिंक बनाया है, डिफ्यूज सिंक बनाया है, आपने वहीं सिक्वेस्टर करके अगर थोड़े थोड़े लोगों को बेचा है, एक एक टन से कम, तो उसका डेफिनेशन अलग है, ये भी रिकॉर्ड होना चाहिए। सो बेसिकली जो डीएमआरवी आउटपुट देगा आपको, डीएमआरवी आपको इतना सिंपल तरीके से आउटपुट देगा कि आपको, मैं अगर आपके डीएमआरवी में गया, देखा, तो एक पेज होना चाहिए, जैसे जो हम बोलते हैं ट्रैक एंड ट्रेस हमारे केस में। आप एक नोट पे क्लिक करिए कहाँ से बायोमास आया, और एक मल्टीपल नोट्स, थिंक ऑफ दिस एज अ स्पाइनल कॉर्ड, जहाँ पे नोड्स आएंगे बाहर, आपको पता चलेगा कि कहाँ से अंदर आया बायोमास और कहाँ बायोचार गया, इंक्लूडिंग द प्रोडक्शन प्रोसेस। So I hope I've answered that question, but this is how it should be all encompassing. It should not be a mystery or a mystique. It should be something very basic, rudimentary. चाहे आप कार्बन क्रेडिट्स लें या ना लें, अगर आप बायोचार बना रहे हैं, डीएमआरवी को अवश्य यूज करें। वो आपके लिए पता चलेगा, जिसने आपके आर्टिसन ने जब बनाया, सही बनाया नहीं बनाया, बहुत जरूरी है, ताकि आप एक गलत चीज अपने फार्म में, सॉइल में ना नहीं डालें।
ओके, थैंक्स। और किसी का क्वेश्चन रहेंगे तो खुद अनम्यूट कर सकते हैं। मीटिंग में जो दर्शक लोग हैं, किसी का क्वेश्चन रहेगा तो आप अनम्यूट कीजिए और सीधा सर को क्वेश्चन पूछ सकते हैं। सुनील चौहान, आपने अनम्यूट किया, आपको
Yeah,
बात
yeah.
करने का तो
Good
बात कर
evening.
सकते हैं।
Good evening, sir.
बोलिए।
गुड इवनिंग।
Sir, I have a question. In some of the research, when we applied like some grapes, when you applied the biochar, initial days, like during that year, the production of that grape will be reduced up to 10%. Next 2 year, next year and next third year, production will be drastically increased up to 30% and 20%. Why? What the maybe the reason they're increasing that production and
Okay.
reducing that production?
Yeah, Sunil. Interesting question. So, जैसे Tejas mentioned that this is an empty revolver. So the moment if you take biochar without charging into the soil and application, आपने grape का example लिया, you may took an example of the grape. What would happen is it would suck and hold the nutrients with it. So it would deprive some of the nutrients to the plant, right? Initially, before the microbial activity and the colony forming happens. What is critical is when you charge and keep the biochar charged and keep it, you have to take it to the dormant stage. And when you apply, the action should happen at that point in time, right? So there is a process of charging, dormancy, and then activation in the soil when you apply. Most cases where you have seen this outcomes, where whether it's the vineyard, grapes, or any other soil, where you find that the yield drops, the large reason of it is a not sufficiently charged biochar goes into the soil, trying to create scare on the user of that particular biochar in that particular field. Generally, this is where we have done some experiments, and when you do apply uncharged biochar in the soil, there is that impact of dropping of yields, and therefore charging is a must. It is a skill that needs to be acquired by the artisan over a period of time. One has to think through, one has to charge it right. It can be charged with multitude of things. It's not just 1:1 portion में mix करा और आपने दे दिया. जरूरी नहीं है that's the way it's going to work through. You got to really apply your head what works and what does not work, right? So take good quality products to charge it. Keep it for some time. आप जैसे you do achar or pickle, it has to marinate. Think of this as a little bit of marination over time, and it's going to come work wonders. I hope that answers Sunil.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hi, Samir.
Hi.
Anant here from Shekru. Thanks for sharing so much, Samir. And I have tons of questions, but I'm really happy to know that you're going to come back for subsequent sections to delve more into detail on some of these topics. I'll start with some of the basic questions I have, which is what is the profile of a farmer or a FPO you're looking at for using this platform? जो DMRV का प्लेटफॉर्म आपने डिज़ाइन किया है तो कौन सा FPO फार्मर क्या क्या उनको होना चाहिए और आप क्या क्या इन्वेस्टमेंट देख रहे हैं फार्मर और FPO से जब ये जर्नी में वो उतरे तो ये दो क्वेश्चन जरा लिंक्ड है क्वेश्चन लिंक्ड भी नहीं है तो आप कैसे यू वांट अप्रोच
Yes.
यू डिसाइड
Yeah. Thank you, Anant. So the platform, the whole idea of Sarthi is SunCarbon Sarthi DMRV is a very democratized approach. It is not that you want to bring in, and is there a fees to come on the platform? The answer is no. Can you use this platform or DMRV by paying some money? Answer is no. Can you come in and register your data on the platform? Answer is yes. What do you need for that is you just need an Android phone, a reasonably well-functioning Android phone. You don't need a very latest model. It is a very basic model. It has to have a little camera which takes pictures because you have to create the evidence trail of the data sets that you are going to generate. What is the typical user persona? I would leave this to me, and I would like every farmer who has biomass generated to be making his own biochar in a ideal setting with a Contiki clean or even a soil pit, which doesn't cost much, right? And people like yourself and Tejas are great partners to kind of get them to understand how it does. Importantly, when you do this, try and record it. Come on this platform because ultimately our belief is when there are very many, we don't want a cook stoves kind of story. आपको भी पता है cook stove में a lot of times the auditing data is where it gets lost. There are a lot of people who are willing to give you that delta or that capital back for the effort that you are willing to put from a carbon credit perspective. Right. So we would obviously, depending on the amount of data that you've gathered, the amount of efforts that you have put at some point in time, whether you would come in and for carbon credit generation or not. And you could have just as an artisan model from a carbon credit percent. You don't have to go on the pro where you create 150 tons of biochar. Ideally, yes, unless the data is of good quality, people find it very difficult to have the comfort on the integrity, right? So he can have a soil pit, he can have a Contiki and get going. He can have less than 10 tons of production annually, and he can register and get going. And if not anything, he should register just for the fact that one day he would be able to go in the regenerative agriculture program that Anant, you or Tejas would be running for them, or there are quite a few of these partners that you would get to, right? And it's very important to kind of create data sets, right? कोई आपसे पूछेगा नहीं जब आप मूंग और मसूर दाल उगाते हो कि आपने कैसे मूंग और मसूर दाल उगाई. बट आपसे तब पूछेंगे जब आप उसे ऑर्गेनिक किया। बट आज से 40 साल पहले कोई आपसे ये नहीं पूछता था कि ये ऑर्गेनिक है या इनऑर्गेनिक है, बिकॉज एवरीथिंग वाज प्रॉब्ली टर्निंग आउट टू बी ऑर्गेनिक, राइट? बट ओवर टाइम टर्न इवेंट्स हैव टर्न टू सच अ स्टेट कि आज आपको जब कोई बेसिक दाल को माना जाता है, आपने उसको केमिकल डाला है और आप कुछ डिफरेंट करते हो तो आपको सर्टिफिकेशन चाहिए। बट अनफॉर्चुनेटली दैट इज द वे द वर्ल्ड इज टर्न आउट टू बी. What we can do is facilitate that for the farmers to come in and say, guys, ये NPOP वाला certification करने से पहले we can still have the DMRVs done, which is a reasonably open source. When I use the word open source, a public good, effectively come in and use it and keep the data recorded for you to use for Anant and other people to perhaps give them a regenerative agriculture, if not biochar, right? I would say that if you are able to do it, a cluster of people coming together, we can create a very nice carbon platform for a carbon farming platform for a lot of people to kind of come in and jump in and play that game.
Right. So if they do want to get carbon credits, what do they need to do?
Just make
That's the
sure
next
they
step.
follow to the T the instructions provided and get on the call with us. You can have a video call. You don't have to be present. Just follow the training that is given to them on the DMRV. We would be very happy to get them to understand how to do it, enroll on that program, and get going. Carbon
What does it
credits.
take?
I was just about to come to that. Carbon credits are carbon credits are given to people where there is a track record of data, quality data present. One has to show this day in, day out that has been performed. There is no, I mean, it has to be like a religion, right? आप सुबह शाम जिस तरह मंदिर में दिया चलाते हो, whatever आराधना that you do, it has to be something similar. Take it as a religion. The data integrity is there, the data quality is there. Over a 3 to 6 to 9 month period, people will kind of understand the data and get going around it. After that, I think you will have an audit depending on the size that you have. If you are smaller size, you will not, you will be exempt from an audit. And the moment you are exempt from an audit, people want to know more and more about you, whether the data is coming out from the quality of biochar that's been produced. You don't get a lab report testing or just 1 or 2 parameters to be tested. You don't have to do sampling, for example. You don't have to create extraordinary infrastructure around that and roll it out. But so I'll give you our experience. We are doing Artisan Pro, our own company, own operated. The first audit was done after 18 months. So having a farmer to do it after 12 months is optimistic. We ourselves took 18 months to kind of get comfort from the auditors to say, you're not going to fail. So you don't show up in an examination knowing, well, you fail, right? So the best part is you show up and you say, I've got a reasonably good chance of, I've done enough practice, there is sufficient data, I've done X number of homeworks, and I'm going to get it, right? Yes, you would, whatever work or biochar you may have made over 3 or 6 months period, there could be a good approach of considering that as for carbon credits. Key here is when you have the decentralized or the smaller model, having a larger population of farmers using it and having data on it, because then becomes relatively cheaper and a larger portion of capital can come back to you.
Before I move to the next question, what is the profile of the FPO you're thinking will typically do this? You've been working with a couple of FPOs, you've been trying to talk
Yes,
to many people on this. What kind of farmer group or an FPO should initiate this or think about
Okay.
this?
Yeah. Very interesting question, and I think we have stumbled many a times before we have landed there, right? And in fact, the classical user persona of the FPO is anybody who is in the 20s to late 30s, right? That's a leader of an FPO. I'm not saying he's a member of the FPO or somebody who is a CEO or something similar who steps in and says, I'm going to be running this. So, like in an FPO, like any other project that we do in a corporate setting or otherwise, Anant, typically you need a champion who actually chaperones this to the end game, right? It's a painful process before we start, before you optimize, and ultimately it will get there, right? So it's like losing weight or getting off sweets. It's very hard work initially, and at times you want to throw up and give up, but do get there, and there are rewards for everybody to see. And I think it's something similar here. You need people with this kind of zeal, energy, climate. Uh, there is something that always keep in mind of the user profile. I like to keep in mind carbon credits are credits. No two carbon credits are the same, but they get the same price, unfortunately. So, that's something which we have to remember. So, for example, if my co-benefits in my case are, or your case, Anant, because for an example perspective, is higher. And what do I mean by that? I'm coming to that. Is more than my co-benefits, then you will be ahead in the queue over my credits. It's not that you're going to get the 10 cents extra. You'll still get the same dollar as I would get, but you will really be ahead on the curve and your credits are going to be sold ahead of mine. What do I mean by that? Now, let's take your has a larger portion of women, for example. I'm just taking gender balance as one of the SDG goals in the UN index, right? There is gender diversity, there is more women, for example. Your co-benefits are going to be significantly higher than my co-benefits, for example, right? Or the biodiversity aspect, right? You have a bioresource center out there, and you are actually bringing in something to charge the biochar from the biodiversity center, bioresource center. You're going to be head and shoulders above what I would get, where I'm buying some kind of charging material to be put in my biochar. So I see, you can throw money and you can get it. But what you have done is you've created resource utilization, right? So you stand a very good chance but remember one thing. This is what is extremely important, is bringing all of this out and not keeping it to yourself. Now you bring this out in the DMRV, perfectly fine. And this is why DMRV's data are quite important, right? Are you bringing it out on an email, sending it to us? Very important. Is there a document that is created? Very important. Audio document? Good. Video document? Excellent. Pictures? Excellent. When a BMW, I'm just taking names here for not pointing any fingers at anybody, or a Mercedes buys this, or a Microsoft buys this credit, they are not looking for carbon credits alone, or they are looking at the impact that we have made. Now that we are not trying to quantify impact in dollars and cents here, but I think intuitively everybody knows the impact that you would have made when you use the data from biodiversity centers.
Samir, I'm going to stop you here because there's so much to talk about in all things that you mentioned with biodiversity and all, but we'll get into that in later sessions. I'm coming back to, I'll ask this in Hindi because कोई किसान इसमें उतरना चाहता है, pit is the most cheapest way, और आपने pit से शुरू किया, गड्ढा खोदा और उसमें जलाया. क्वांटिटी जाना चाहता है तो फिर वो नेक्स्ट स्टेप ग्रेजुएट कर रहा है, तो उसमें कितना इन्वेस्टमेंट लगेगा एक फार्मर को, कि क्या क्या उसको करना चाहिए क्वांटिटी का. दिस इज अ वेरी बेसिक क्वेश्चन कि क्वांटिटी का कितना कितना कॉस्टिंग है. ऑल द अदर से आपने जो बोला, मॉइस्चर गन, बायोमास, आपने शेड भी बताया, शेड बनाया आपने एलिमेंट से, फिर वो जो फायर गियर है, आपने हेलमेट दिखाया, सेफ्टी गियर, ये सब का इन्वेस्टमेंट आप अंदाज कितना बोलते हो अगर कोई किसान देखना चाहता है?
मैं ये कहूंगा, अगर फार्मर ये इन्वेस्ट कर रहा है, आई एम राउंडिंग ऑफ ऑल ऑफ दिस, डोंट ट्राई एंड री इन्वेंट द व्हील. एक डेटा सेट, जैसे आप क्रिकेट खेलते हो तो एक क्रिकेट लेते हो तो कहीं से जाके हेलमेट नहीं खरीदते, कहीं से जाके स्टंप्स नहीं खरीदते, कहीं से जाके ग्लव्स और पैड्स अलग अलग जगह से नहीं खरीदते, राइट? और या खुद बनाते नहीं हो या ढूंढते नहीं हो, राइट? मैं स्टॉक की बात नहीं कर रहा हूं. एक स्टैंडर्ड प्रोटोकॉल है, एसओपी है, एग्जैक्टली कहां मिलेगा आपको डीएमआरवी में बताएगा. आप खुद ऑर्डर करिए, अमेजोन पे ऑर्डर करिए, ₹1,00,000 के अंदर अंदर आप पूरा निपटा सकते हो एक क्वांटिटी के साथ. यू वोंट इवन हिट 6 digits. That's our maths. You won't even hit 6 digits. अब जो आपने शेड की बात बोली, इनवेरिएबली फार्मर के पास वो शेड या उस तरह का कोई कॉन्ट्रैप्शन होता है, नहीं होता है तो परफेक्शन मत करिए. गेट गोइंग, क्योंकि शेड आपको रोकना नहीं चाहिए कि शेड है या नहीं है, या हीट सूट है या नहीं है, राइट? बस शूज अच्छी तरह पहनिए, ग्लव्स अच्छी तरह पहनिए, क्योंकि द लास्ट थिंग यू वांट इज गेटिंग बर्न्ड, राइट? आई मीन अनंत, जान है तो जहान है, राइट? सो आई मीन यू डोंट वांट टू लीव अ बैड टेस्ट इन एनीबॉडीज माउथ, राइट? बट यस, अचार बनाते समय हाथ कट सकता है, ऐसा नहीं है तब नहीं होता है। तो yes, we can go there, but less than 100,000 rupees, 1 लाख रुपए के अंदर अंदर आप पूरा का पूरा गेट गो कर सकते हो। To have your own biomass, you can get a very good quality results over a period of time.
मेरा लास्ट क्वेश्चन है बिफोर आई गिव इट बैक टू बिबिशन। जो आप बात कर रहे हैं कि क्वांटिटी, ये मोबाइल डिजाइन का आपने जरा मेंशन किया था, ये क्वांटिटी को मुझे खेत से खेत लेके जाना है, बिकॉज क्या होता है कि बायोमास कोई लेके नहीं आ पाता है मुझे मेरे पास, तो ये क्वांटिटी हर खेत में जाना है, ये ट्रैक्टर के पीछे बिठाएंगे कि ये मोबाइल डिजाइन में आपने क्या एक्सपीरियंस देखा है, आपका क्या एक्सपीरियंस हुआ है और आप कुछ इसमें डेवलप कर रहे हैं क्या?
So we are working a little more on the mobility of the Contiki. We're making it a little easier without compromising on safety, Anand. तो safety के perspective से सबसे बड़ा challenge यह होता है जब आप मूव करते हो एंड अगर आप ध्यान नहीं दिया तो, बिकॉज इट इज नॉट अ सीमलेस प्रोडक्ट, इट इज गॉट अ वेल्डेड प्रोडक्ट, आर्गन वेल्डिंग होती है इसके अंदर जो शीट्स के अंदर, तो क्या होता है कि डैमेज अगर हो गया तो यू विल हैव अ लीकेज विच इफेक्टिवली डिस्ट्रॉयज द एंटायर पायरोलिसिस प्रोसेस, विच वी वांट टू डू इन एब्सेंस ऑफ ऑक्सीजन, वो प्रेजेंस ऑफ ऑक्सीजन हो जाएगा, राइट? सो इसलिए थोड़ा सा वो थोड़ी चीजें ध्यान देनी है, क्योंकि आप एक तरफ से कॉस्ट का स्ट्रक्चर मांग रहे हो और दूसरी तरफ मोबिलिटी का वो मांग रहे हो। A lot of people do try and create some structures around saying that वो लेके चलो। एट द सेम टाइम आपको मैं ये बता सकता हूं कि कार्बन क्रेडिट्स हर किसी प्रोडक्ट में नहीं मिलता है, उसको प्री अप्रूव कराना पड़ता है। मीथेन एमिशंस प्री डिफाइंड होते हैं, आप अपना हाथ से अपने आप डिजाइन नहीं चेंज कर सकते, मोबिलिटी वगैरह कर सकते हैं, बट आप अपना उसका फंडामेंटल स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ फ्लेम कर्टन अगर आपने डिस्ट्रॉय किया तो आपको कार्बन क्रेडिट्स नहीं मिलेंगे, और उसका टेस्टिंग बहुत एक्सपेंसिव है। I would never recommend people to try and go in that route. Just because किसी ने कोई कॉन्ट्रैप्शन आपने YouTube वीडियो में देखा, मत करिएगा, क्योंकि आपको पता नहीं है उसका एमिशन क्या हो रहा है। उसका एमिशन फॉर ऑल यू नो इज मोर देन द बायोचार दैट लॉकिंग दैट इज हैपनिंग ओवर द नेक्स्ट। पूरा मैथ्स किया हुआ है इस पे, 52 गुना एमिशन बचाता है कॉन्टकी फ्लेम कर्टन मेथड, प्रोवन स्टैटिस्टिक्स ओवर सालों की मेहनत में साइंस ने बताया है। अगर आप अपना देर आर बॉक्स टाइप और अलग अलग टाइप्स बनाते हैं, ऐसा नहीं होता है उसमें। सो कार्बन क्रेडिट्स मिलना बहुत मुश्किल हो जाएगा आपके लिए। सो आप करने किसी, और किसी को पता नहीं बायोचार भी सही बन रहा है नहीं बन रहा है, क्योंकि आप टेस्टिंग नहीं करोगे उसमें पैक क्या हो रहा है, पॉलीएरोमेट्रिक हाइड्रोजन। आप अपने आप को जहर तो नहीं खिलाना चाहते ना, आप तो अच्छा काम करने निकले थे, आप तो उल्टा कर दोगे पूरा। So I'm not be a scarecrow here or a scaremongering here, but I will be very honest with you. ये जो जुगाड़ मत लगाइएगा इसमें, इसको बहुत सीरियसली बेसिक डिसिप्लिन की तरह करिएगा, आउटपुट आएंगे।
लेकिन आपके राय से पिट मेथड में कर सकते हैं कि नहीं? मुझे क्वांटिटी ही करना पड़ेगा कि पिट?
मेरे राय से पिट मेथड इज द मोस्ट इफेक्टिव मेथड। द ओनली रीजन आई ग्रेजुएटेड फ्रॉम द पिट मेथड was the safety aspect, क्योंकि the last thing you want is किसी का पैर स्लिप हुआ और वो पिट में जा गिरा, ठीक है थोड़ा जलेगा, बट यू नो यू कैंट स्लीप वेल। आपको इतनी सेफ्टी होनी चाहिए। एंड I come from shipping, logistics. I have kind of spent, you get that safety of life at sea, that whole mindset is very different that I have come up with. People deal with fire, already a big risk. All it requires is a slip. So I tried doing, when I use the word try, I actually did maximum amount of biomass in a day, converted to biochar in a soil pit, extremely perfect from a science perspective. Flame curtain natural हो जाता है, क्वालिटी ऑफ बायोचार फैंटास्टिक बनता है, अनबर्न पोर्शन कम रहते हैं, सब कुछ सही है, बट वो पिट का जो रिस्क एलिमेंट है वो थोड़ा सा ज्यादा है फ्रॉम अ क्वांटिटी परस्पेक्टिव, सिग्निफिकेंटली ज्यादा है। व्हेन आई यूज द वर्ड थोड़ा सा, और इसमें तोड़ नहीं है, बिकॉज आप उस पिट को थोड़ा ऊपर करिए, आप नीचे जाइए, उसका तोड़ नहीं आ रहा है. सो वी डिजाइन समथिंग विच इज एन इंटरसेक्शन, वर्किंग विद पायरोसीसीएस, वी डिजाइंड एन इंटरसेक्शन ऑफ सॉइल पिट एंड अ कॉन्टिकी. बट उसका डिसएडवांटेज मोबिलिटी आ गया. तो भाई आप मोबाइल नहीं कर सकते, तो आप अटक गए, तो आपको ट्रेड ऑफ करना पड़ता है कहीं पे, अनंत. एंड दैट इज वेयर वी सेड मे बी द बेस्ट पार्ट इज पिट छोड़ के यू मूव टू द क्वांटिकी. एंड क्वांटिकी से बेटर अभी आउटकम मिला नहीं है, बिकॉज आई थिंक दैट इज एन आउटकम ऑफ 12 years ऑफ रिसर्च बाय इकाटा इंस्टीट्यूट. Though already right for European weather where they do, I can do barbecues, not so much for Indian weather. But I think आपका winters इतना बड़ा तो है कि आप 6 महीना आराम से इसको यूज कर सकते हो and get good quality credits out of it without
नहीं, सर, मैं
having
क्यों
debates.
पूछ रहा हूँ, छोटा किसान जो है, जो इनिशियली शुरू करना चाहता है, वो हमें एक्सक्यूज देते हैं कि हम कैसे क्वांटिटी लेंगे, हमारा कुछ इन्वेस्टमेंट नहीं करना है,
नहीं,
हमें
पिट
ट्राई
से शुरू
करना है,
करो.
तो
पिट
पिच
से
से
शुरू
शुरू
करो.
करना है. तो इसीलिए मैं पूछ रहा हूँ कि क्या उनको यही एडवाइस देना है कि यू कैन स्टिल डू अ गुड बायोचार विद अ पिट,
Yes.
खाली
पिट से
सेफ्टी
शुरू
याद
करो.
रखो कि गिरे नहीं
बस.
अंदर. दैट इज व्हाट
हाँ.
पॉइंट इज. ठीक है.
हाँ.
विभीषण, यू हैव एनी क्वेश्चन? तेजस, टेक ओवर. या
Okay. From social side, uh, Swati Shikhade, before applying to soil, it will take how many days to charge biochar with biomass?
So you don't charge biochar with biomass, we charge with a charging object. से इस केस में आप किसी बायो रिसोर्स सेंटर से अगर सपोज काउ मैन्योर लाते हो, या कोई भी इस तरह का प्रोडक्ट लाते हो चार्ज करने के लिए, सो यू चार्ज विद दीज काइंड ऑफ elements which should be organic, in the sense which should not be synthetic, ideally, because then you're losing the entire direction. Importantly, जब आप let's assume आप जब आप एक मैं एग्जांपल देता हूँ कि आपके यहाँ काउ शेड है, आपके यहाँ गाय हैं रखी हैं, आप उसको स्प्रेड करिए, दैट इज वन वे ऑफ इट. जब उसमें गौमूत्र और काउ मैन्योर मिल जाता है, उस बायोचार को ले आइए, और you can keep it for 15 days and reasonably charge हो जाता है from a risk perspective, right? So we have tried many options, including just putting pure gaumutra in the biochar to see the activity, microbial activity क्या होता है. आपको बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है डॉर्मेंसी लेना. अगर आपके यहाँ डायरेक्टली डाल रहे हो आप, तो आपको डॉर्मेंसी की इतनी चिंता नहीं होनी चाहिए कि आपने बायोचार लिया, यू टुक द बायोचार, यू चार्ज इट एंड यू पुटिंग बैक इनटू द सॉइल इमीडिएटली. बट हाइपोथेटिकली इफ यू आर नॉट पुटिंग बैक इन द सॉइल, यू आर कीपिंग इट, यू हैव टू मेक श्योर इट गोज डॉर्मेंट, विच मीन्स आपको मॉइस्चर कॉन्टेंट आपको 25% के नीचे लाना पड़ेगा और तभी डॉर्मेंट होगा. सो इट ऑल डिपेंड्स और आप किस तरह किस अप्रोच में लेके जा रहे हो. You can do it in 15 days and get going. We typically do it longer, anywhere from we create windrows. We do a lot of scientific method of creating windrows of the composting material, then charge, then take it back, turn it. But biochar हम लोगों ने शुरू में when the composting material comes तब भी डाल के देखा, मिडिल में डाल के देखा और एंड में डाल के देखा. And I can assure you, after the lab results on these three outcomes, जो शुरू में डालते हैं, we do see significant good quality product being generated. Then बाद में उसको चार्ज करने के टाइम, so effectively composting कर देंगे और उसको proper manuring करेंगे या composting का process flow करेंगे, it will be great for your outcome.
Okay, thank you. और किसी क्वेश्चन है तो आप अनम्यूट
There's
करके पूछ
something
सकते
at the
हैं
chat
दर्शक.
who says, how will
हाँ,
a
yes,
small
yes,
farmer sell the biochar?
बायोचार.
हाँ, डबल एज स्वॉर्ड क्वेश्चन है. स्मॉल फार्मर को बायोचार क्यों बेचना है? एक टिपिकली ये क्वेश्चन मेरे जहन में आता है कि स्मॉल फार्मर को या तो खुद यूज करे या उसकी कम्युनिटी में वो बेचे. जैसे वो गोबर खाद खरीदता है, वो बायोचार खरीद बेच हो सकती है, in my view. Quite counterintuitive. What we would want to build over a period of time, that we are able to create. We don't have it today, but we are able to create. If the quality of the biochar is good, we should be able to give an offtake contract to the farmer to take the biochar. At this point in time, we don't have it, but we are looking to work that out so that there is a clear roadmap. So happy to work with somebody who is thinking in that direction. If the size is, even if it's a small farmer, the size is worthwhile, we would be happy to kind of create a structure where we are able to take away the biochar and give some amount of money back to him.
और किसी का क्वेश्चन है तो आप म्यूट करके पूछ सकते हैं।
समीर, ये जो बायोमास ना पूरा साल भर में अवेलेबिलिटी जो है, कोई कोई किसान हम जो काम करते हैं ये तूती करते हैं मलबरी, तो ये मलबरी ना पूरा साल अवेलेबल है, तो दिस इज वन ऑफ द बायोमास दैट इज अवेलेबल थ्रू आउट द ईयर, एंड ये फार्मर्स हम लोग काम कर रहे हैं उनके साथ। तो आप इनको आपका क्या राय है मलबरी के साथ जो आपने बायोमास इसके साथ? हाँ
Tejas has been kind enough to share dried mulberry with us, जो थोड़ा difficult होता है। उसने पूरी मेहनत करके काट के भेजा है, हमने उससे बनाया है। It works very well, and I think mulberry is not in the agri space, or it's in the sericulture space, is what Tejas tells me. But I think it is just a great sweet spot for doing biochar making on. I will be honest and confess here that I'm still yet to complete the testing in the lab of the biochar created, but I've shared some of the outcomes with Tejas in pictures form, of course, and it is good quality.
थ्रूआउट द ईयर करना है ना, तो उनको वो पत्ते दे देते हैं वो कीड़े को, तो आई मीन फॉर द वर्म्स, और वो ब्रांचेस आर अवेलेबल, द स्टॉक्स आर अवेलेबल, तो दिस कुड बी अ गुड एप्लीकेशन फॉर देम बिकॉज दे हैव इट अवेलेबल थ्रू आउट द ईयर एंड इट्स अनदर इनकम सोर्स इफ दे वांट टू, यू नो।
It's just fantastic. It's just absolute fantastic. Yes, you are absolutely right. Very few, one of the few things that is available 24/7, 365 days of the year.
With couple of farmers at least, and we know they are very, very interested in looking at this. So that's why I thought I'll ask for them. Thank you.
Yeah.
धरती ओसवाल उन्होंने फिर कमेंट में क्वेश्चन किया है कि how will we were working on these lines, would love to connect, ऐसा बात है उन्होंने।
Absolutely. Look forward, Dharti. We can definitely work in that direction. And I think विभीषण जी आपके पास उनका शायद कांटेक्ट हो तो
नहीं सर, आपका कांटेक्ट है ना, हम शेयर करने वाले सबके लिए। तो लास्ट में वो आपसे कनेक्ट करने के बाद में।
Absolutely.
तेजस, आपके पास कुछ है तो आप ले सकते हैं।
Samir ji, on that note, maybe if you can just tell your contact number, folks who haven't noted it down during your presentation, we'll just take a note.
I'll put it in the chat. You want to put it in the chat, or?
Not everybody is on the Zoom, so just reciting out would be much helpful.
So my contact number is +97156501427. I'm quite easily available on WhatsApp. Send me a text or give me a WhatsApp call. It's perfectly fine. It's ideally use the WhatsApp. Perfect. It will work fine.
Good. That was a very nice session, Samir ji. Thank you. And really good Q&A. But I think these questions raise more questions. they have a never-ending effect. But so it'd be very nice to maybe come back after a few weeks to try and understand a little bit more on the DMRV. But we'll discuss that at a future session. Thank you very much. I think we are almost at the 90-minute mark where we do a very hard stop. So thank you very much, Samir. Thank you very much, Shekru team. Thank you very much, the TEO team, for making this wonderful session happen. Next week, we'll meet one other passionate stakeholder within the biochar space, and we'll try to keep this Saturday sessions rolling. Thanks a lot, Samirji, for being first person in this spotlight session and making this a very good event. We look forward to hearing again from you.
Thank you, Tejas. Thank you, Shekru team. Thank you, Anant, Viveshanji, and happy to connect once again whenever you need.
Wonderful.